What is going on, YouTube? Welcome to the Living Freed channel. My name is Tyler Freed, and in this video, I'm going to be talking about what I have learned or how being an owner-operator has gone for me since I started. I did just buy a truck and become an owner-operator in May of this year. And for those of you that are new to the channel, I appreciate you for being here. I'm answering a question from a lot of people have been asking me this question. What have you learned so far? How has it been? Would you recommend it? I've been getting a lot of questions like that. And so in my last video, I did ask people to put down in the comment section what they want me to do a video about. And this was pretty much the unanimous topic that they wanted me to discuss. And so if you're new and you're thinking about becoming an owner-operator, you're new to trucking and that's your goal one day, this is a perfect video for you. You need to stay tuned till the entire end, because I'm not going to just discuss how it's gone for me and, my personal situation. After I do that, in the first part of this video, I'm going to talk about my personal situation, where I'm at, what's gone on over the last few months since I started as an owner-operator, the good, the bad, the ugly. And then after that, I'm going to explain what I've learned, because that is a great question. What have I learned from all that? And how can I teach people how to be successful at it if that's what they want to do? Because a lot of people get into trucking and they want to become an owner-operator. That's their goal. That's a lot of drivers' goals when they first get in. But the truth about the success rate at that is like 90% of people fail that become owner-operators. Easily 90%. It might even be like 95. 1 to 5% of people will actually succeed long-term. And what is long-term? I would say anything past about 3 years is long-term. You may have success if we're in a hot trucking market. You might have success during that bull market, but once the tide goes out, once the market turns, 90% of drivers fail. And I'm going to explain why I think that is, just based on what I've learned and how you can protect yourself against that downside risk. Because if you're going to become an owner-operator, you have to understand you are starting a business. And a lot of people don't understand that. They think, oh, just because I'm a good driver, I've been driving for 20, 30 years, means I'm going to be a great owner-operator. No, it does not mean that, because you are running a business now. And so I'm going to explain, just based on my experience, how I can see how to be successful long-term, and how if anybody follows the blueprint that I'll explain at the end of the video, they can succeed as an owner-operator in any market. They could pretty much succeed at almost any company, whether they're leased on and they're getting paid percentage, or they're getting paid on a mileage contract, or if they have their own authority. If you follow the blueprint that I'll explain, I think you can be successful just about anywhere. So first, when did I become an owner-operator? Well, I just alluded to that. I became an owner-operator in May, and I bought a truck from Crete Carrier. I worked for Crete for a little over 2 years as a company driver. I bought a truck from them, and I leased that truck on to Crete. Now, I'm not leasing the truck. I paid cash for the truck. I got the title, but I chose to lease my truck onto Crete Carrier's authority. So I'm running for or under Crete Carrier's authority. And I'm not going to go too far in depth as to why I chose to go with them. I have many reasons why I chose to go with them, but I did. Here's a few of them, but I'm not going to go too deep with it. The reason I chose to go with Crete is because they have contract freight, and my goal is to grow a fleet of company drivers, and it's a lot easier to hire company drivers and retain them and be able to pay them what they're worth when you know what rates you're getting. See, with Crete, I know what the rates are with them. They're set in stone. So I know that with all of their contracts, with all of the customers that they have, that if I were to put a driver in a truck, that they would easily be able to hit great miles every week, and I wouldn't have to worry about the fluctuations in the rates. I can really project my revenue and my expenses and my numbers out with contract freight. It's a lot harder to do that that when you're on the spot market, because the spot market can fluctuate. Sometimes the rates can be really high on the spot market, and yeah, when they're really high, you can afford to pay a company driver and, you know, get them great miles while you also profit a lot. But also when the market turns and goes down, it's a lot harder to get them the miles while also being profitable. If I were to get my own authority, I probably wouldn't have that strategy of buying trucks and putting company drivers in them. I would hire on owner operators and pay them a percentage and grow a fleet that way. More than likely, that's what I would do if I were to go the authority route. But for me, I personally want to grow a fleet of company drivers right now. That's what I want to do. Could that change in the future? Will I change my mind? Always possible. But I'm just explaining why I chose Crete, because I know that one, I have the contract freight, I have access to their fuel network, their trailer pool, and just with my personal goals, I can grow with Crete, right? And you can do this at other companies. There's other companies that have the same sort of situation that Crete does, but those are a few of the reasons why I chose to go with them. So anyway, I bought the truck, leased onto Crete. I've been driving with them for since May, or end of May. So pretty much June, July, August, September, and it's now October. So 5 months. And I have had some hardships. The truth is I've had some hardships. And after I tell you all of this, that's what's going to lead me into, hey, how can you succeed at this long term, even with all the hardships that you will have, not might have, maybe will have. No, you will have them. If you decide to go into business and trucking, any business, but we're talking about trucking, if you decide to go into trucking and buy a piece of equipment, you are going to put a lot of money into that truck. In the last 5 months, I've spent $12,000 just on repairs and tow bills. Maybe add another $1,500 for hotel rooms. And, you know, that's not even factoring in the downtime. I've had fuel injectors go out in my truck. Now, the fuel injectors, and I had a new one box installed in my truck. Those two things were covered under warranty, right? I do have a engine warranty, and with the engine warranty, it covers all major engine components and the after treatment system, the DEF system. And so the one box was covered, the fuel injectors were covered, but that was just recently I had that. But I was out for 6 days, right? So 6 days, for those of you that are owner operators, that's a lot of time. That's a lot of revenue you're missing. That downtime is costly, right? And who's paying for that hotel room? Me. I'm paying for that hotel room. Who had to pay for the tow truck to tow me to the Freightliner dealership and get that truck repaired? Even though it was covered under warranty, the repair itself, I still had to pay for the hotel and the tow bill, right? So that's just something you got to think about. And that was just recently. Before that, I had a cam housing seal leak. I had an oil leak, and so I had to get that fixed. That was a few $1,000s. That only took like a day to fix that, but still a few $1,000s. That was out of pocket. That was not covered under warranty. I had to pay for that, right? I also had a radiator and a water pump go out. That was like the first month I owned this truck. And so those are a few of the expenses I've had, but all of those expenses have added up to about $12,000 to $13,000, all of those things, right? And so those are just things you have to understand. That is going to come. But how did I pay for that? And how is it worth it? Man, you've already spent 13 grand in 5 months. How is it worth it to be an owner operator? Well, let me tell you. If you have a maintenance account that you're funding out of each and every single time you get paid, every mile, you need to at least put, if you're going to be an owner operator, you need to at least put 10 at the minimum. I would recommend like 15 to 20 cents per mile into a maintenance account and consider that money spent. And most of these repairs I was able to pay with my maintenance money, right? And you know, it really builds up fast. Think about 15 cents a mile is what I do. That really builds up fast. And if you ever have to cover a tow bill, if you ever have to pay for hotel expenses out of pocket, if you ever have to pay for the repair itself, you have that money earmarked for that. That's how I was able to get through all of it. It was still hard to deal with, of course. But even with all of that, even with the expenses I've had, over the last 5 months, I'm still making way more money than I could as a company driver. That is the truth. That is the truth. I'm going to tell you how, because most people, if they were to be dealing with this stuff over the last 5 months, if they owned a truck, they would not be able to survive it. I'm telling you, they wouldn't. And the reason why is because most people that are owner operators, most people that go into business and trucking are over leveraged. They have too much debt when they start out. They only put 20% down. Some cases, they only put 10% down on a truck. They don't have an emergency fund when they're starting. They don't fund a maintenance account. They don't set aside money for taxes. There's a lot of things you got to do to protect yourself against the downside of trucking, right? Because yeah, while I just said I can make a lot more money as an owner operator, and I've made a lot more money even with those repairs as an owner op than I would as a company driver over the last 5 months. I have. However, if I were deeply in debt, I had high truck payments, and I didn't fund a maintenance account, and I didn't protect myself against that downside risk, those breakdowns, those things that will happen, not can, but will happen, then no, I would have gone under. I probably wouldn't even be owning the truck right now. A lot of people just say, screw it, it's not worth it. In most cases, they're right. In most cases, being an owner operator is not worth it, because if you don't have the capital, if you don't have the right setup, the right strategy for how you're going to run your business, it's not going to be worth it to you. You're going to go broke, actually. You're going to go broke. You're going to have money set aside for those downtimes and those repairs. You're going to have that. If you don't have that, you're done in trucking. And that's why I'm so against debt in trucking specifically, because those truck payments, imagine if I was sitting in those hotel rooms, and I had truck notes coming in that I had to keep servicing. Luckily, I have a paid off truck. I don't have any debt. Yeah, it sucked to have to spend that money out of my maintenance account, out of my savings to pay for those repairs and get back going again. If I had a truck payment on top of that, I would be a slave to this truck. So I'm going to go into, how to set yourself up, how I did it. And I would recommend anybody who wants to be an owner operator, this is how you need to do it. If you want to guarantee, or pretty much guarantee, success long-term as an owner op, this is the way I would do it. But that's what's happened over the last 5 months for me. I'm going to end with that because I told you I'd tell you my personal situation. And with all that happening, would I change what I chose to do? Would I go back to being company? Well, there's no way I would, because I was ready for that. I was financially ready for that and mentally ready for those things to happen. I knew, hey, it's a truck. Trucks break down. Trucks need repairs. You're going to put money into this truck. I already knew that going into it, right? And so I had the capital. I knew going into it what I was doing. I had my plan. You have to have that. Would I go back to being company? No, because my long-term goal is to go way past one truck. That's my long-term goal. And in order to achieve that long-term goal, I can't stop what I'm doing. Also, I make a lot more money. I'm able to save a lot faster for a second truck, for a third truck, for my goals by being an owner operator, even with those expenses. Because here's the thing too, even though the last 5 months, that's what I've dealt with the truck, that doesn't mean the next 5 months are going to be like that. There's going to be time periods where the truck's running great and you don't really have very many problems. You just have the minor routine maintenance, right? And I already know that. So if I didn't have all those repairs, all that money I put into that would have been saved and rolled into what I want to do long term. But no, would I change it? No, I would not. But would I advise most people, most drivers, to become owner operators? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And I'm going to explain why right after this. But why is that? The reason is because before I became an owner operator, I drove company for 5 years. I took classes on business. I read multiple books about the trucking industry. I read multiple books about accounting, about corporate law, about just finance, investing. I learned about business. I learned about investing. And I did all that before I ever bought a truck and decided to start a business. That is what I did. And I would recommend, if you're going to do that, you need to get educated about business. You need to thoroughly understand business in general and the industry that you're in and how to be successful at that, right? I really kind of modeled my one truck operation after a company like Crete. Crete is a debt-free company. Crete is able to outcompete a lot of their competitors because they have no debt on anything, right? They can run for lower rates and still profit and grow and expand. And the companies that are over leveraged, they're going to struggle in the down times. They're going to struggle in the bad economic times. That's how I wanted to set my business up. So I'm about to go into that, and this is what I did. So one, before I became an owner operator, I knew, okay, I'm going to pay cash for my truck. That's number one. However much that truck is going to cost you, that could vary. That if you buy a used, it could go from $50,000 to, if you buy a new one, to $150,000. It just depends on what you want to do. Do you want to buy used? Do you want to buy new? That's up for you to decide, right? I chose to buy a used truck. I knew the range. I knew the range of what it would cost. I figured out, okay, here's the range of what I'm going to need in cash to pay for that truck. That's number one. You need to know what it's going to cost. Number two, above whatever the truck price is, you need to have a emergency fund. And that emergency fund should be at least $30,000, starting out $30,000 above what the truck costs. Why? Because if you do not have that money and you have multiple situations like I had over just the first 5 months, you can go, imagine if you have no emergency fund, even if you have a truck paid off, if you have no emergency fund, you're unable to cover those expenses. You're unable to do that. You're unable to survive that. So you have to have that money, right? Even if you have a warranty. I have a warranty on this truck for 250,000 miles. I do. However, the problem with that is that warranty doesn't cover towing. It doesn't cover your hotel expenses and your downtime. You still got to have a cushion no matter what, right? So be able to pay cash. Why pay cash? I'm going to be very clear. Why pay cash for your truck? So that you don't have truck payments. When you have no truck payments and your truck is broken down, you don't have to worry about that expense. When you go home, you don't have that expense, right? When your truck's sitting there, yeah, you have some fixed costs, but that's nothing compared to having a $500 to $1,500 a week truck payment. A lot of people's truck payments are outrageous. I don't know how they survive, and most of them don't over the long term. Well, you will survive the down times. You will also survive the lower rate environments if your truck is paid off. You have no debt. It's very simple. Cash flow is the name of the game in trucking. It's your revenue minus your expenses equals your profit. And when I don't have a truck payment, that is a huge expense that I don't have to pay. And when I am down, like I said, I don't have to worry about that. I do have to worry about the repair and the downtime, but I don't have to worry about that debt. And I don't have to dig myself out of a hole every time I come out of a breakdown, right? I come out of repairing the truck. That's number one. So you want to have that also too. That way you can run for lower rates and still be profitable. That's why I preach being debt-free, especially in trucking. This isn't like leveraging in real estate. Leveraging in real estate, using debt to do that, that's different than trucking. Trucking's not real estate. It's not. It's a totally different business, and doing it any other way, in my opinion, is setting yourself up for failure. It really is, 100%. So, be debt-free, buy the truck, have that emergency fund to be able to cover any major repairs when you're first starting out. Try to buy a truck that has a warranty on it. If you buy a new one, you're going to have a full-blown warranty. But even if you buy a used one, try to buy a warranty that at least covers the engine. And if you buy a newer truck, try to buy one that covers the DPF system. And, the other components, you can pay for those repairs out of this next step. When you get started, put at least 10 to 20 cents in that range, 10 to 20 cents per mile into a maintenance account. And what are you going to use that money for? You're going to use that money to cover things like A services, B services, minor repairs, shoot, even a tow bill, hotel expense. It's for anything related to breaking down and being down, right? You may need to use some of that money to cover some personal bills. That's what I would recommend. But 100%, I don't care if you have that $30,000 emergency fund or not. You want to continue to add to the maintenance fund, even if you have that nest egg, doesn't matter, because you don't want that 30,000 to just dwindle down. You want to keep replenishing that. And if you do that, you can still be extremely profitable. You can put 15 cents a mile away. If you're debt free and you're just putting 15 cents a mile away, you'll cover most of the expenses for an entire year. You will. And over time, you'll build up enough money in there to cover rebuilding the engine over a few years. You will. Most of the time, you will be able to do that. That's the goal, right? Is to profit, but also be able to cash flow all of the expenses and not go down in your savings, right? And so you can still, with all of that being debt free, with having an emergency fund and then funding a maintenance account, if you run your business like that, you will probably be able to make between $150,000 and $200,000 a year doing it that way. And that's even in the freight rate environment we're in right now. I am running contract freight, but I do have access to, I look at a load board all the time just to see what the rates are doing. And if I were to switch over and go drive for someone that pays percentage, I would still be able to make roughly what I'm making now. It would be very close. It wouldn't be much different. And I could still succeed because, again, I don't have the expenses that a lot of other owner operators have. You want to have a low cost of operation. The moral of the story is you want to have the funding, the capital, the knowledge, and then a low cost of operation. And when you're debt free, you have a low cost of operation. You're able to also invest in your truck, right? That 15 cents, you're investing in that equipment to keep it going, because the biggest cost is the downtime. It's not even the repair itself. It's the downtime is the biggest cost. And so constantly funding your truck and investing in your equipment will keep you on the road and keep you profitable. That is what I've learned so far. All of this is what I've learned so far. Maybe I'm rambling. I don't know. I tried to break it down to here's when I started. Here's some of the bad things that have happened. I wanted to lead with that because that's the truth. That's what's happened. But even with all of that, I'm still going to be able to hit my goal. And my goal is to go to a second truck. For those of you that don't know, I've mentioned this before. If you're still stayed tuned all the way through to the end of this video, I really appreciate it. If you like it, like the video, sub to the channel. I'm going to make a lot more content like this going forward. But, I'm going to be going to a second truck, and I do plan on hiring a driver. If you're still interested in that, please leave a comment down below, and I can easily just let y'all know when I've either purchased the truck or I'm, days away from purchasing the truck. I will let y'all know. I'm moving at the end of this year, so I'm not going to go to a second truck before the end of the year, but later next year, like probably February or March of next year is when I plan to go to a second truck, and I'm going to try to offer a great deal. I'm ending with that just because I want to explain to y'all that is what I'm going to be doing. So if you're interested in driving for me, it will be, I don't have the exact numbers right now, but you will make a higher rate than you can make just about anywhere else. You will be able to get great miles because you'll be doing nothing but contract freight. You'll be driving for Crete, but you'll also have a lot more flexibility because you're driving for me and I'm on the contractor side, and there's a lot more choice on your loads than as if you were a company driver. So the ability to make more miles is a lot higher as an owner op than a company driver. It just is. So if you're interested, please put a comment in the comment section down below or reach out to me. For those of you that have already reached out, believe me, I still have your messages saved on Instagram. Even if I didn't respond, I still saw those and I kept them. And I still have the comments on previous videos where I talked about this. But to end, if you want to be an owner operator, that's what I would do. Other than that, I would not recommend anybody do it. If you can't do it debt free, have an emergency fund when you're first starting out, and then put money in a maintenance account and just, and also too, you don't have the knowledge about business. You don't have the knowledge about how accounting works and the numbers work in trucking and just the industry itself. I wouldn't do it. 100%. I wouldn't do it. For 90% of people, your best bet is to just drive company, try to specialize, try to get an endorsement and specialize in something, and just make as much money as a company driver as possible. Max out your 401k, max out your Roth IRA, you know, just invest in other things, maybe save up, buy real estate. You're better off doing that, because for a lot of you, it's not worth it. And that's okay. It doesn't have to be for everybody. It isn't for everybody. That's the truth. It is not for everybody. And that does go without saying, but I just want to explain that to people because I've been asked a lot, you know, how is it going? How has it been? What have you learned? That is what I've learned. There's really no other way to do it as far as if you want to succeed long-term. Everything I just explained in this video is pretty much how you could succeed in any market, any economy, and do it for a long time and make out a lot better than you could as a company driver. But there's a lot of steps involved. And maybe in the next video, well, actually the next video I'm going to do is explaining how I went from having nothing, having no savings at all, first getting into trucking, to saving up to pay cash, become an owner operator, and that process, because the process is the most important thing. If you're starting from nothing, you have a lot of debt, you have no savings, you have no investment, you shouldn't even be thinking about owner operator. You should be thinking about cleaning up your situation and have that be a long-term goal instead. And I'll explain that in the next video. I was going to do that for today's video, but I've been asked so much about the owner operator side that I wanted to do that video today. So Friday, I'm going to explain my career step by step, my entire process of how I got to this point. And I hope you guys stay tuned for that. So I know this was a long-winded video, but it takes a lot of time to explain everything for this particular topic. I appreciate each and every one of you guys for watching. Those of you that are new, those of you that are not new, God bless. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for Friday's video. Peace out.